Joseph Elwell was a man who had mastered the art of chance. In the high society whirl of New York City's roaring 20s, where fortune was a fickle companion, Elwell had tamed it, bending probability to his will across a green felt table. He was not merely a gambler, he was the preeminent authority on contract bridge and whist, a celebrity in a world of kings and financiers. His books on the subject were treated as scripture, his presence at a card table a mark of prestige. The wealth this genius afforded him was immense, funding an existence of pure, gilded extravagance. He resided at 244 West 71st Street, a handsome five-story brownstone that served as both his sanctuary and his stage. Elwell was the quintessential New York playboy, a fixture in the gossip columns, and a connoisseur of fast horses, faster cars, and beautiful women. He cut a dashing figure, always impeccably dressed, his charm as sharp and polished as his intellect. But this public persona was a carefully constructed facade, a magician's glittering cape designed to distract from the sleight of hand happening beneath. He navigated a complex web of overlapping social circles, from the old money aristocrats of Fifth Avenue to the more dangerous, high-stakes gambling dens where fortunes were won and lost on the turn of a card. He was a man who knew everyone's secrets, and in doing so made certain his own remained deeply, perilously hidden. His life was a performance of effortless superiority, a continuous demonstration of his mental prowess. He moved through the glittering ballrooms and exclusive clubs with an air of invincibility, a man who believed he was always the smartest person in the room. He collected admirers and enemies with equal, nonchalant grace, his romantic entanglements as numerous and complex as the bidding systems he devised. Joseph Elwell lived in a world of his own creation, a world built on secrets, strategy, and the unshakable confidence of a man who had always beaten the odds. He was the Wizard of Whist, and in the summer of 1920, the final trick was about to be played, not by him, but on him. The performance ended on the morning of June 11th, 1920. The curtain was pulled back not by a detective's shrewd deduction, but by the mundane routine of a maid arriving for work. She found the front door of the brownstone locked, but the mail and milk from the previous day still sat untouched on the stoop. Gaining entry through the help of a passerby, she ascended to the second-floor living room. There the illusion of order shattered. Joseph Elwell was seated in a chair, slumped forward, a single devastating gunshot wound to his forehead. He was clad only in pajamas, his false teeth and a toupee conspicuously absent. He was, most critically, alone. The scene that unfolded before the arriving police was one of profound and unsettling contradiction. The front door had been locked from the inside with a bolt and a chain. All other windows and doors throughout the five-story house were similarly secured. There was no sign of a forced entry, no splintered wood, no shattered glass. The house was a sealed container. Inside there was no evidence of a struggle. Nothing appeared to be stolen. Valuables lay in plain sight. Most hauntingly, the murder weapon was gone. A single .45 caliber bullet had ended his life, but the pistol that fired it had vanished from the locked room. This was the genesis of the perfect puzzle, a classic locked room mystery that would baffle the finest minds of the New York Police Department. The fundamental laws of physics and logic seemed to have been suspended. A killer had entered a fortified space, committed a clean, instantaneous murder, and then evaporated into thin air, taking the instrument of death and leaving behind only a silent, impossible riddle. The absence of struggle was particularly telling. It suggested Elwell knew his assailant, or was so utterly taken by surprise that he had no time to react. The stage was set for a murder, but the perpetrator had left no script, no visible means of entrance or exit. Faced with an impossible physical scenario, the police did the only thing they could. They began to dismantle the victim's life. The investigation into the death of Joseph Elwell immediately transformed from a homicide case into an archaeological dig into a secret world. The pristine, public-facing brownstone revealed itself to be a labyrinth of concealed compartments and hidden truths. Detectives discovered a locked closet containing over 100 letters from dozens of different women, a meticulous catalog of Elwell's intricate romantic web. Here were the whispers, promises, and potential resentments of a lifetime of affairs. The portrait that emerged was of a man who lived a double, even triple, life. The celebrated bridge expert was also a prolific philanderer, juggling relationships with society wives, aspiring actresses, and anonymous lovers with breathtaking audacity. Beyond the boudoir, his financial dealings were equally murky. While immensely wealthy, he was entangled in high-stakes gambling debts and questionable business partnerships. He had made a fortune at the card table, but in doing so, he had humiliated powerful men, bankrupted amateurs, and created a long list of individuals who had both the motive and the means to see him dead. The police quickly realized that the key to this locked room was not a physical object, but a human secret. Elwell's murder was not a random act of violence. It was a targeted personal execution. The sheer number of people with a reason to harm him was staggering. Every letter opened, every financial ledger examined, every acquaintance interviewed, revealed another potential enemy. The investigation expanded exponentially. A sprawling network of jealousy, financial ruin, and wounded pride, all leading back to the silent, still center of that locked room on West 71st Street. The man who had built his life on keeping secrets had, in death, unleashed every single one of them. As the suspect list grew, it coalesced into several distinct groups, each with a compelling motive, but no clear method. The most prominent candidates were the cuckolded husbands. Elwell's trove of letters pointed to several prominent, powerful men whose wives had been his lovers. A jealous husband discovering the affair possessed a primal motive for revenge. Yet how would such a man engineer the perfect locked room murder? A crime of passion would likely be messy, not this clinical, calculated shot to the head. Furthermore, gaining entry to the sealed house without Elwell's knowledge or consent seemed an insurmountable obstacle for an enraged outsider. Then there were the scorned lovers themselves. The letters hinted at bitterness and heartbreak among the many women in his life. Could a jilted mistress, perhaps one he had promised to marry or had cast aside, have sought the ultimate vengeance? She might have possessed a key or been allowed inside willingly, explaining the lack of forced entry. Yet the logistics of a woman firing a powerful .45 caliber pistol with such precision and then having the presence of mind to meticulously relock the house from the inside and escape with the weapon seemed far-fetched to investigators. The physical and emotional fortitude required did not align with the profile of a heartbroken socialite. The final group consisted of his professional adversaries, the men he had ruined at the bridge table or in business. Elwell's entire fortune was built on outwitting others, and his victims were often wealthy, proud, and well-connected. A man cheated out of a vast sum might hire a professional killer. This theory provided a plausible explanation for the cold, efficient nature of the killing. A professional could have concealed himself inside the house, waited for the perfect moment, executed his target, and then exited through a previously unconsidered route, locking a door behind him. Yet no such hired gun was ever identified, and no specific business deal emerged as a clear trigger for the murder. Every suspect had a reason to want Joseph Elwell dead, but the hermetic seal of the crime scene remained an alibi for them all. Despite a massive investigation and a media frenzy that turned the Elwell case into a national obsession, the puzzle never yielded its solution. Leads were pursued, alibis were checked and rechecked, but no single suspect could be conclusively placed in that locked room on the morning of June 11th. The case, so full of sound and fury in the beginning, gradually bled of its momentum. The files remained open, but the active search dwindled, and the mystery of who killed the Wizard of Whist solidified into one of New York's most famous cold cases. In the absence of a definitive solution, two primary theories have endured the passage of time. The first posits that the killer was someone who had a key, a former lover, a disgruntled servant, or a trusted acquaintance. This individual entered the house, committed the murder, and then left, using a piece of string or wire to manipulate the lock from the outside, creating the illusion of a room sealed from within. This classic locked room trick would explain the physical evidence while pointing to an insider with intimate knowledge of the home's layout and locks. The second and perhaps more compelling theory suggests the killer never left the scene initially. They hid inside the large multi-story house, perhaps overnight, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. After shooting Elwell, They simply waited for the commotion of the discovery. In the ensuing chaos, as police and onlookers moved through the home, the murderer blended in and walked out the front door, the weapon concealed on their person. This would explain the missing gun and the lack of any immediate, obvious suspect seen fleeing the property. The house in this scenario was only locked until the world was invited inside. The murder of Joseph Elwell remains a perfect, unsolved example of an impossible crime. It is a story of a man who built his life on clever deceptions and hidden strategies, only to be undone by a final, flawless trick he never saw coming. The locked room was the ultimate expression of his own secretive existence, a beautiful, impenetrable facade that contained and ultimately preserved the truth of his death. The case endures not for its resolution, but for its perfection as an enigma, a timeless reminder that the most intricate puzzles are those the human heart leaves behind.